Welcome back to the Lore Drop Spot, where we bring Halo's greatest stories to life. Today, we're diving into one of the most tragic and legendary tales in the entire franchise, the fall of Noble Team in Halo Reach. So grab your DMR Spartans, because this is a story you'll want to experience all over again. And if you love deep dives into Halo lore like this, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next chapter in the saga. August 30th, 2552, the day humanity's greatest stronghold became its greatest graveyard. But let's rewind a little bit, because to understand how Noble Team's story ends, you need to understand what they were actually fighting for. Reach. The fortress world, humanity's sword and shield rolled into one impenetrable bastion hanging in space. While Earth was the heart of the UNSC, Reach was its clenched fist, bristling with orbital defense platforms, massive shipyards that birthed warships keeping humanity alive, and the birthplace of the Spartans. Reach wasn't just another colony. This was where humanity made its stand, where the UNSC forged its weapons, trained its warriors, and planned its desperate strategies against an alien alliance hell-bent on extinction. Reach was supposed to be untouchable, unreachable. But that delusion died in July 2552 upon first contact with the Covenant on the military homeworld. But let's pause here and meet the heroes of Reach. Enter Noble Team, 6 of the most lethal warriors humanity had ever created, only outdone by the Master Chief himself. They were forged in fire and bound by something stronger than duty. The knowledge that when everything goes to hell, they have each other's backs no matter what, and they'd get a chance to test this theory sooner than expected. Starting with Noble 1, Carter A259, Team Commander. He wasn't picked for his brute force, only trusted his steadiness and judgment under pressure. Leadership isn't about being the strongest, it's about making the hard calls so others don't have to. It's about composure in the heat of chaos, and composure was something that Carter had to spare. Next up, Cat B320, Noble 2, and Carter's right-hand man, his tactical genius, and his perfect counterweight. Her cybernetic arm, a prosthesis that reminded everyone that even Spartans weren't invincible. But that hadn't taken her mind, the most dangerous weapon she'd ever had. Cat could calculate probabilities faster than most AIs, plot courses through impossible odds, and find solutions where everyone else only saw problems. Next up, Emile A239, the team's killing machine, and he made sure everybody knew it. That skull carved into his visor wasn't psychological warfare. Well, not just psychological warfare, it was bookkeeping. Rumor had it that each scratch, each mark, represented another Covenant life that he'd claimed. Some called it excessive, Emile called it therapy. Next up, we have June A266, the Ghost, their designated sniper, watching from distances that turned him into myth. He carried a cold, calculated sense of calm, not in the way of Carter's military composure, more laid back and relaxed, almost as if he wasn't even aware of the war going on around him. His accuracy, his confidence, and his demeanor culminated into the perfect marksman for Noble Team. Next up, George 052, the gentle giant, the anomaly. While the others were Spartan 3s, the expendable generation, bred for suicide missions and quick deaths, George was a Spartan 2, Master Chief's generation. Raised as a small child to become a soldier, built to last, built to win. But George had chosen to stay with Noble Team, becoming their anchor when storms hit. And finally, there was 6. Noble Team's newest member arrived with a reputation written in shadow and blood. The Oni dossier painted a picture that would give most people nightmares. An exceptionally lethal Spartan 3 frequently deployed for deniable black ops, often operating solo, so effective that entire insurrectionist cells had simply vanished without a trace. Official records were classified above cosmic clearance, but the stories leaked anyway. Stories of a Spartan who worked alone, struck without warning, left no witnesses, and asked no questions. Now, this lone wolf was needed to learn how to function within a team. 5 warriors who'd bled together, fought together, nearly died together countless times, and 1 wildcard who preferred solitude to solidarity. The chemistry should have been toxic. Instead, it was about to become legendary, and in all likelihood prevented humanity's extinction. Our story truly begins on July 24th, 2552, when the Visegrád Relay goes dark. Communications hub in Reach's northern wilderness, silent as a grave. UNSC command had their usual suspect, insurrectionists, because even after 30 years of alien invasion, humans were still finding reasons to kill each other, and the Covenant had never been spotted even near Reach. So Noble Team was deployed expecting saboteurs and rebels. What they found instead would shatter everything they thought they knew about this war. Hiding in the ruins, they discovered Sara Sorvad, a civilian survivor, the sole witness to something that shouldn't have been possible on Reach. Her family, her neighbors, her entire community slaughtered not by human rebels, but by aliens wielding energy weapons and wearing gleaming armor. Elites, the Covenant, here on humanity's fortress world. The mathematical impossibility of it hit Noble Team like a freight train. If Covenant forces were already planet-side, that means they'd infiltrated Reach's defenses undetected. Then humanity's greatest stronghold hadn't just been compromised, it had already fallen. They just didn't know it yet. Then the ambush came without warning. Zealots. Not the cannon fodder grunts that most UNSC forces faced, not even the standard elite warriors that had been bleeding humanity dry for 3 decades. These were Zealot-class Sangheili, the devoted sentries, warrior priestesses who had earned the right to wear their specialized armor through rivers of human blood. Each Zealot represented decades of military excellence, fanatical devotion to their cause, and combat skills that turned warfare into art. Energy swords hummed through the air with lethal precision as they carved Noble Team's position. But here's what made Zealots truly terrifying. They weren't just elite soldiers, they were symbols. The Covenant deployed Zealots only for their most sacred missions, the most critical objectives, and the targets that absolutely could not be allowed to survive. Their presence on Reach meant only one thing. This wasn't reconnaissance or raiding, this was a full-blown attempt at extermination. Noble Team fought back with everything they had, but the message was crystal clear. Reach's secret was out, and the Covenant had come to finish what they'd started 30 years ago. From there, the invasion escalated rapidly. Oni Sword Base, one of Reach's most classified research facilities, buried deep beneath the planet's crust, came under direct Covenant assault. As Noble Team rushed to defend humanity's darkest secrets, they encountered someone who knew more about this war than almost anyone else alive in the galaxy. Dr. Catherine Halsey, the woman who had built the Spartan II program, the closest thing the Spartan IIs had to a parent. The architect of humanity's greatest weapon and its greatest sins. Halsey moved through Sword Base like she owned the place, which, in every way that mattered, she essentially did. Her fingerprints were on every black project, every ethical line that Oni had crossed in the name of survival. Every choice that had sacrificed innocence for victory. George knew her, of course. She'd been there when they'd taken him from his family at age 6, when they subjected him to augmentations that killed half of his fellow recruits, and when they forged him into a living weapon capable of protecting humanity at the cost of his own childhood. But George's respect for her was unmistakable. She had made him into something capable of standing against the darkness, even if the price had been everything he'd once been. Halsey's presence at Sword Base wasn't coincidental. Deep beneath the facility, she was working on projects that could change the course of the war. Projects the Covenant could not be allowed to capture. But even as Noble Team bought her time with blood and bullets, the true scope of the invasion was only just unfolding. Civilian evacuations began immediately, but the mathematics were brutal. Not enough ships, not enough time, not enough miracles to save everyone who deserved saving. Noble Team found themselves torn between military objectives and a humanitarian crisis. Every minute spent fighting meant civilians died. Every minute spent on rescue meant the Covenant gained more ground. But the Covenant had a surprise waiting in orbit that would make all their efforts academic. The Long Night of Solace. 15 miles of alien death machine hanging in Reach's sky like a mechanical eclipse. This wasn't just another Covenant cruiser, this was a supercarrier. A mobile fortress capable of glassing continents from orbit, deploying endless wave of troops, and coordinating an invasion fleet that stretched well beyond the horizon. The UNSC response was Operation Uppercut. Desperate, brilliant, insane. Typical for the plans hatched in Cat's mind, it was beautiful in its audacity. The plan was to capture a smaller Covenant vessel, the Corvette Ardent Prayer, and use it as a Trojan horse to infiltrate the supercarrier, then detonate a makeshift split space bomb inside its hull. The resulting spatial rupture would tear the massive ship apart from within. Noble 6 and George volunteered for the suicide mission. George had always known this moment would come. Every Spartan understood that their ultimate purpose was to die for humanity. They just hoped to make it count when the time actually came. Upon the Covenant cruiser, the first tragedy for Noble Team raised its head. The detonator was busted. Someone needed to stay behind to ensure its detonation. As the Ardent Prayer approached Long Night of Solace, George looked at 6 with something approaching peace in his eyes. This was what Dr. Halsey had made him for. This was why he'd been taken as a 6-year-old boy from his family 35 years ago. This was the moment that all the pain and sacrifice would finally mean something. Before Noble 6 could protest, he was picked up by the far larger Spartan II and thrown from the ship back towards Reach to continue the fight.
Bad news is, time is fried. I'm gonna have to fire it manually.
That's a one-way trip.
We all make it sooner or later. Better get going, 6. They're gonna need you down there. Listen, Reach has been good to me. Time has come to return the favor. Don't deny me this. Tell him to make it count.
The slip space rupture tore long native souls apart like tissue paper. 15 miles of Covenant superiority, thousands of alien warriors, and one of humanity's greatest heroes vanished into the twisted mathematics of faster-than-light space. The explosion painted Reach's sky like a second sunrise, and for a few minutes, it looked like Reach might be saved. Then, the sky went dark. Not with clouds or smoke, but with ships. Hundreds of them. Covenant reinforcements arriving not as a response to Jorge's sacrifice, but as if the destruction of the supercarrier had simply been a signal rather than a setback. The real invasion fleet had been waiting, and now it descended on Reach like a flood of warships. Jorge had managed to buy humanity minutes. In the grand scope of war, it was nothing. But in the context of his sacrifice, it was everything. And Noble Team was going to fight like hell to make every one of those minutes count. And they did. In the days that followed, battles and retreats blurred together. The Covenant methodically dismantled Reach's defenses, while Noble Team fought increasingly hopeless holding actions. The new Alexandria, one of the planet's major population centers, became a graveyard of skyscrapers and shattered dreams. The 5 remaining Spartans were able to regroup after a long fight through Alexandria. As the team was gathering their breath and coordinating their next course of action, reflecting on Jorge's sacrifice, and here I'll let you listen for yourself.
Look at this place. Used to be the crown jewel. Not anymore. Hey, you made it.
It's a regular family reunion. Keep him. I gave him to you. I'll honor him my own way.
Jorge always said he would never leave Reach.
The big man was sentimental.
He gave his life thinking he'd just save the planet. We should all be so lucky.
I don't care what anyone says. The dialogue in Reach is incredible. And the tragedy they told was just so damn believable. After too few minutes to catch their breath and regroup, Noble Team moved out. Kat had always seemed untouchable. Her tactical brilliance had saved Noble Team countless times. Her quick thinking and technical expertise transforming impossible situations into merely improbable ones. She moved through war zones like she had some kind of invisible shield, always calculating the angles, always one step ahead of death. Until she wasn't. The shot came from above, silent but precise. A crystalline shard that punched through her helmet and skull with surgical precision. Kat B-320, the tactical genius who had calculated the odds of survival for 1,000 battles, never saw the one shot that ended her war. She simply collapsed mid-sentence, her brilliant mind silenced in an instant that felt like the universe itself had stuttered to a halt. The silence that followed was deafening. In an instant, the remaining 4 soldiers began returning fire. Noble Team had lost Jorge, but his sacrifice had meaning, purpose, and heroic weight. Kat's death felt senseless, random. A reminder that in war, sometimes the brightest lights get snuffed out by accidents of timing. The realization slowly dawns that this may not be the heroic story of triumph that we initially thought. But there was no time to mourn, there never was. As Reach burned all around them, Noble Team regrouped at Sword Base with Dr. Halsey to get what would be their final mission. The Pillar of Autumn, one of the UNSC's most advanced warships, was attempting to escape the planet, with the Master Chief in tow. Dr. Halsey had chosen Noble 6 to be her final champion. He was the one chosen to carry humanity's most precious cargo to the Pillar of Autumn, Cortana, an AI unlike any other, built from neural patterns derived from Halsey's very own brain and loaded with critical navigational and strategic data humanity could not afford to lose, as well as the secret coordinates uncovered from a Forerunner artifact beneath Reach that would eventually lead to the discovery of Halo. If the Covenant captured her, they would know everything, including the location of humanity's homeworld, Earth. The war would be over in weeks instead of years. Cortana had to reach the Autumn. The Autumn had to escape Reach, and Noble Team, or what was left of them, had to make it happen regardless of the cost. It was here that June split from the surviving members of Noble Team. He was selected to escort Dr. Halsey off-world, as Six, Emile, and Carter would deliver the package to the Pillar of Autumn. The path to the shipyard was blocked by something that redefined the concept of impossible odds: a scarab. A quadruple walking fortress, 200 feet of Covenant engineering designed to level cities. Its primary beam weapon could carve through starship armor, and its complement of defense systems made it a mobile nightmare that had broken entire UNSC battle groups. Carter looked at the scarab, then at his remaining teammates, and made the calculation that every commander dreads, but every leader must eventually face. There was no way around it, no way to outflank it, no way to destroy it with the weapons they had available. The only way was through it. Carter's Pelican screamed toward the Scarab like a guided missile. Its engines pushed beyond redline specifications as he lined up for his final approach. Over the comm, his voice was steady, professional, and carrying the weight of command one last time.
I've got the message.
Solid copy. Hit 'em on, boss.
You're on your own, Noble. Carter out.
Resulting explosion lit up Reach's dying sky like a funeral pyre. The Scarab toppled, its massive bulk crushing everything beneath it as it fell. The path to the Autumn was clear, bought with the life of the man who had held Noble Team together through humanity's darkest hours. And just like that, only 2 noble Spartans remained to finish the mission. But there was still one final obstacle between the Autumn and escape. The ship's mass accelerator cannon MAC guns that would provide covering fire during the launch was under Covenant assault. Somebody had to retake and man the gun. Someone had to hold that position until the Autumn cleared the atmosphere. Someone had to die so that Cortana could live. Emile volunteered. Of course he did. This was the moment he'd been carving hash marks for, the fight he'd been preparing for his entire violent life. Every notch on that skull visor had been practiced for this final performance. As Emile provided covering fire, Noble Team charged the platform to deliver Cortana to Captain Keyes. It was at this moment, Emile's position was finally overtaken. The Zealots came for him like death incarnate, energy swords painting trails of lethal light burning through Reach's air. But Emile was ready. He'd been counting down to this confrontation since the day they'd carved that skull into his visor. Each kill bringing him closer to the moment of perfect violence. And when the smoke cleared, multiple Zealots lay dead around his position. But warfare is mathematics, and the math had finally caught up to Noble Team's resident Reaper.
Who's next? I'm ready! How about you?
An energy sword finally found its mark, burning through his armor and flesh with clinical precision and plasma weaponry. But he made damn sure to take some with him. Back on the platform, Keyes and his team urged Noble 6 to board the Pelican and leave Reach. But with the MAC gun offline, their chances were hopelessly bleak. Desperate to ensure his team's sacrifice wasn't in vain, Noble 6, finding himself back in familiar lone wolf territory, declined.
Lieutenant, get aboard! We gotta get the hell out of here!
Negative. I have the gun. Good luck, sir.
Good luck to you, Spartan.
As he provided covering fire, the Pelican was able to return to the Pillar of Autumn and safely depart Reach. Cortana was safe, the mission was complete, but Noble 6 remained. Alone on a dying world surrounded by an entire Covenant invasion force, 6 prepared for the loneliest battle in human history. There was no extraction plan, no backup, and no hope for survival. There was only duty and the knowledge that every second of resistance bought another second for the Pillar of Autumn to escape. Wave after wave of Covenant forces crashed against 6's position like an alien tide. Grunts, jackals, skirmishers, elite strike teams, wave after wave of everything the Covenant could deploy against one lone Spartan. 6's assault rifle chattered its defiant song, grenades carved holes in enemy formations, and for a brief shining moment, it seemed like one warrior could potentially hold back the darkness through sheer force of will. But ammunition runs out, energy shields fail, and even Spartans have limits. In the end, Noble 6 fell as he had lived, fighting alone against impossible odds, buying time for humanity with blood and determination. 6's helmet remained on Reach's glass surface, a small monument to sacrifice in a landscape of total devastation. The planet had burned. Reach, humanity's fortress world, its industrial heart, and its symbol of strength, became a monument to the cost of this war. Orbital defense platforms fell silent, shipyards melted in metallic rain. The UNSC's greatest stronghold joined the long list of worlds that now existed only in their memories. But not all of Noble Team had died on Reach. June had escaped along with Dr. Halsey to safety. June would actually go on to recruit and train the Spartan 4 program, the volunteers who would carry humanity's fight into the post-war era. Years later, he would serve as acting chief of staff for Spartan operations, transforming lessons written in Noble Team's blood into doctrine that would save thousands of lives to come. The Pillar of Autumn escaped, carrying Cortana and her precious cargo toward a discovery that would change everything, the ancient ring world called Halo. The sacrifice of Noble Team had purchased something more valuable than victory. They had bought humanity time and hope. And that's the real tragedy of Reach. Noble Team succeeded. Those who died did so believing that their sacrifice had meaning, and they were absolutely right. George's destruction of the Long Night of Solace had delayed the invasion fleet. Kat's tactical genius had kept them alive long enough to matter. Carter's ramming attack had cleared the path to salvation. Emile's final stand provided the covering fire needed to escape. And Six's lonely battle had brought the precious seconds that meant the difference between failure and legend. All of it. Every death, every sacrifice, every moment of heroism in the face of annihilation led to one outcome. The Master Chief awakening from cryosleep as the Autumn arrived at Installation 04 with his companion Cortana in hand. Reach fell so that humanity could discover the Halo array. Noble Team died so that the galaxy could live on. They were the opening chapter of humanity's greatest victory, written in their own blood and sacrifice. And that's what makes this story so powerful, so heartbreaking, so perfectly, tragically beautiful. They weren't just soldiers following orders or heroes seeking glory. They were people, flawed, human mortal people who looked at impossible odds and decided that someone else's tomorrow mattered more than their own today. Remember, Noble Team. Remember that sometimes the greatest victories begin with the most devastating defeats, and that heroes aren't measured by whether they live or die, but by what they make possible through their choices. Noble's Team's war is over, but their legend, it's eternal. And somewhere in the vast darkness of space, their story still echoes, a reminder that even when everything's falling apart, when hope seems lost, even when the darkness seems absolute, there are still those willing to stand against it. Not because they can win, but because someone has to try. Let us know in the comments below which Noble Team sacrifice hit you the hardest. If you've made it this far, thank you, and consider hitting that subscribe button since I'm sure you'll enjoy some of the other videos that we have on this channel.